Today we're talking about the skinny on fat, because not all fat on the body is created equally. Just like certain fats that we consume and eat can have a different impact on the body, how our fat is actually formed and why we have excess fat on the body and how it's formed can impact our body differently. So I'm often talking about how I've worked with many people over the years who have been just as unhealthy in a thin body as I've worked with people who have been unhealthy in an obese body. But something I haven't said too often is that I've worked with people who were actually healthier but were on the obese scale of measurement than people who were at their ideal weight. And here's why. When we're putting toxic ingredients in the body, what I call the lethal recipe, it forms the building blocks of every cell in your body. So if you're building any structure, any building with building materials, if you use crap materials, what you end up with is a lower quality product. So you can be super fit, and I've worked with many elite athletes over the years with diabetes, heart disease, and cancer, not to mention a lot of other conditions, because they were under the illusion that if they just worked it off or they just burnt it off, like a fire, it would just go off into the ether. They didn't understand that building materials were actually creating the cells in their body. And when they started to get off of what I call the lethal recipe, their recovery times, repair of injuries, all of those things dramatically improved. So now I'm talking about people who maybe not be at their ideal weight. So whether you're consuming too much food and you're consuming food that's junk food, versus if you're consuming too much food and it is natural and it's organic and it's healthy, those things are going to have different impacts on the body. You're going to be more vulnerable to disease if you're eating things that don't have macro and micronutrients in it, phytochemicals in it. You're going to be more vulnerable to disease if you're eating something that has toxic chemicals in it, and particularly if you're eating it in a volume that you could never source yourself in nature. Also happens in, say, the body that becomes obese because it's eating real food. Whenever you eat too much of anything that you couldn't source yourself outside of nature, it's going to create an imbalance in the body. So that's really important to understand. And this is going to be really controversial. So I need, Andy to create some bells and warnings and whistles in the video to warn you. But what I'm going to say is politically incorrect. It's going to offend some people. But what I want you to know is that from someone who's actually been obese in the past, from both of those scenarios, from eating unhealthily and being obese from eating healthy foods, but just having that imbalance in my body, I'm talking to you about this from a place of love, because we have a lot of noise out that's talking about body acceptance at any size. And in fact, how beautiful the body is when people are being, throwing up images of people who are what we would consider morbidly obese, as much as I hate that term. The body is amazing at any size, but glorifying a figure, the actual physical body, based on consuming way more food, even if it is natural, than we could ever consume ourselves by sourcing it in nature, is, I think, political correctness gone awry. The body is amazing at any size, but glamorizing it and glorifying it when you're consuming way too much food for one human being that's meant to consume, it's like glamorizing someone who's anorexic, who's not eating enough food. And I know that really hurts and harms, some people's egos and their stance and the political correctness of it, but I think it needs to be said that being obese doesn't make you a bad person, right? Consuming too much food is basically your body crying out for something. It needs to be nourished, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. It's crying out to be nourished. And if we stop ignoring that sign and just accept the body how it is, if it's in a state of imbalance, we're not going to actually be able to help heal it. So wherever you are in your journey, you have an amazing body, right? That it can actually cope with the things that we put it through, whether it's through anorexia, whether it's through extreme fitness and not nourishing and feeding the body toxic foods, or by eating way too much food that we ever consume in the natural environment. It all creates imbalance. But Isn't it amazing how many people actually are managed to live, and actually have productive lives despite this? So your body is absolutely amazing. The thing I want you to really focus on and concern yourself with is staying in that place where you're appreciating how amazing your body is. And then in that place of gratitude of how it can actually handle things, to start to really feel a deep sense of gratitude and self-love, because in that place of deep gratitude and self-love for the amazing body that you have, you are going to start to want to nourish it in a way that honors this amazing vessel that we have. Lastly, what I want you to know is that this message is coming from a place of love. It's coming from a place of wanting only the highest and the best for you. No matter what your size, your journey to actually developing a healthy relationship with food, your body, and the planet, it's not mutually exclusive. It's all one thing. And as you start to love yourself, as you start to nourish yourself and feed your body food that loves itself, you will start to find this beautiful place of balance, of eating just the right amount of food, the right kinds of food that nourish, energize, and protect your body, that make you have this incredible environment so you can be your best. No matter what size you are, you can start that journey. And I hope you do it today from a place of love.